Good afternoon and half a day. The Committee on General Government Operations and Appropriations now called to order. Today is Thursday, June 13, 2024, and the time now is 2:00 p.m. In compliance with open government law, the notices for this public hearing were posted on the Gov Guam public notice portal on GTA TV channel 21 and Docomo channel 117 and live stream on the Guam Legislature YouTube, and disseminated via email to all senators, all main media broadcasting outlets on Wednesday, June 5th and on June 10th. The agenda this afternoon is specifically to Bill number 236-37 COR, Committee on Rules by request of I Magaʹhågan Guåhan, the Governor of Guam, in accordance with the Organic Act of Guam, an act making appropriation for the operation of the executive branch of the Government of Guam for fiscal year ending September 30, 2025, making other appropriations and establishing miscellaneous and administrative provisions relative to the Custom and Quarantine Agency. At this time, I ask the members of the Custom and Quarantine Agency panel to rise and be placed under oath by the Sergeant. And if there's any other officers that might testify, please stand and be sworn in. They don't want. I don't blame them.
Please raise your right hand. Under penalty of perjury, do you affirm that any and all information you provide today, whether it be verbally, electronically, and in writing, be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Mr. Chair, under oath, you may proceed.
Thank you, Sergeant Arms. The general rules for this budget hearing. Please provide my legislative staff with any document for photocopying and distribution. Panel members are asked to remain in the room for questions or for additional testimony as may be desired by the members of the committee. Questions and testimony shall be confined to the substance or nature of the agenda. Personal inference as to the character or the motive of any senator or any individual testifying is not permitted. Any violation of the general rule of conduct will result in removal from the budget hearing. I would expect that the panel or my colleagues can identify if there is any infraction of the rules of conduct so that the individual be removed. Proper form and decorum shall be practiced by all present in the public hearing room for these proceedings. Individuals who fail to maintain proper form and decorum will be restricted from participating and will be removed from the room. When you speak, please make sure that the microphone is on and that you speak into the microphone. Please state your name and your title for the record. I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues that have joined me this afternoon. We have Senator Dwayne Snickers, who's the oversight chair of the Custom and Quarantine Authority. We have Senator Brown and we have Senator Roy Kanata. And with that, I'd ask the director, sir, in the beginning, just introduce all your staff. But for the staff, once you're asked a question or going to answer, you introduce yourself one time. After that, we won't ask no more for who you are. Okay, and with that, Director, if you can go ahead and present your budget.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the hearing committee. My name is Ike Paredo, and I am the Director of the Customs and Quarantine Agency. With me today, I have my acting ASO to my left, Pilar Carbolito. To my right is Chief of Customs Vince Perez, and to his right is Captain John Rick Mendiola. Before I begin, I would like to thank the committee for the opportunity to discuss our requested budget and to provide useful information on why this budget is important to our agency. The Customs and Quarantine Agency is the first line of defense. We enforce federal laws and local laws and regulations and collaborate with the federal and local government entities. CQA is responsible for protecting Guam's borders, securing our ports of entry while facilitating trade, commerce, and travel. Guam Customs not only serves on the front lines of border security, but we are also working closely with our federal counterparts as well as private industry to strengthen Guam's border security operations and to facilitate the movement of goods entering our island. The agency continues to perform its traditional mission, such as conducting inspection of arriving passengers, vessels, aircraft, commercial merchandise, and any tangible products for individual, private, commercial, or governmental use, preventing unauthorized entry and seizing illegal drugs and other contrabands, protecting our agricultural interests from harmful pests and diseases, and collecting use tax. These are complex and difficult responsibilities that Guam Customs personnel take seriously and perform proudly with honor. CQA faces many challenges and unique problems set across diverse operational environment. I could not be more proud to work alongside CQA's dedicated officers who continue to make countless advancements in everything from preventing terrorism, criminals and drugs from harming our communities, to combating counterfeit products in our supply chain. I am extremely proud of the hard work and professionalism I see every day. These officers are dedicated men and women who continue to meet the challenges with integrity and commitment. CQA maximizes the current personnel and resources by coordinating and disseminating information and intelligence to all ports of entry. This is accomplished by having personnel dedicated to the 5 ports of entry, bringing specialized sections to enhance the inspection and screening process, focusing on high-risk areas. Moreover, CQA has the responsibility to enhance the island's economic competitiveness and security by efficiently and effectively processing goods and people entering our borders. On a monthly basis, Customs processes approximately 78,000 passengers and cleared approximately 930 flights to include cargo flights. At the waterfront, a total of 77 vessels were inspected and approximately 1,850 containers were processed and cleared. To date, CQA has 141 customs officers and is operating at about 50% below our staffing level of 250 officers. The agency is short by roughly 106 officers to effectively protect our borders. The agency's goal is to reach 250 officers by the year 2027. I would now like to move on with our slide presentation. Next, please. Mission. The Customs and Quarantine Agency is responsible for enforcing both local and federal laws and regulations as they relate to passenger, cargo, and conveyance movement across Guam's borders. Of course, our port of entries are Antonio Wampat International Airport, the Jose de Leon Guerrero Commercial Port, Agustin Board Basing, the U.S. Postal Service main facility, and Anderson Air Force Base. Through this mission, we intercept and seize contrabands, detain and seize unsafe substances, prevent biosecurity threats, safeguard from terrorism, avert communicable diseases, facilitate legitimate trade, commerce, and travel, and apprehend violators. Next, please. Divisions. Within the Customs and Quarantine Agency, we have 4 divisions. Of course, the Director's Office and the Inspection and Control Division, which is the backbone of the agency. This is where all movement of passengers and cargoes are inspected. We have the Special Enforcement Division involved in criminal investigation and conducting follow-up investigations of things that are happening at our borders. The other section is Logistics and Support, which accounts for the fines, fees, and forfeitures, research and development, cybersecurity, property, evidence, custodial office, record management, training and development. And of course, the Administrative Office, which is our HR, which handles procurement, payroll, accounts receivables, inspection fees, and budget. Overall, uniform officers, 141. We have 15 civilian with a total of 156 employees. 154 classified, 2 unclassified, and 11 vacancies. Next slide, please. Our fiscal 2024 accomplishments are as follows. Increased interdictions and regulatory operations, which comprise of graduation and deployment of 39 new CQ officers. Recruitment in progress for 20 CQ trainees. Training of 7 new drug detector dog handlers and agricultural canines. In the process of acquiring a new mobile X-ray scanner through the Port Security Grant, in the process of acquiring handheld X-ray scanners through the Port Security Grant. We would like to also be involved in creating a plan to detect unannounced arrivals of increasing surveillance, vigilance, and coordinations with other law enforcement partners in Guam and the CNMI. Phase 2 of Import Modernization Project. The creation of Bill 176 and now Public Law 3782, which is the Harmonized and Automation. Harmonized Code Awareness Outreach, CQA personnel and stakeholders. We will also like or have completed the draft of Guam Harmonized Commodity Code Schedules and finalization of the Oceania Customs Modernization Assessment and Consultation. Moreover, submission of a new port security grant for additional seaport operations, money acquired for A&E and CQA satellite inspection station. We're looking at procuring 10 new vehicles and the Phase 2 partnership with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Next slide, please. Our breakdown for the fiscal year 2025 budget request funding, general fund, in the amount of $13,948,639. Special fund, $7,845,357, with a total of $21,793,996. Next slide, please. CQA arrivals and CQS revenue accounts for 2019 to 24. If you notice at the slide, we're starting to see an increase in the amount of passengers coming to our borders, although the increase is at 29.24%, we're still about 50% below pre-COVID arrivals. Next slide, please. Fiscal year 2025 budget breakdown for salaries. We have a total of breakdown with, for general fund under salaries is $10,164,712. Under the special fund is $4,665,597 with a total of $16,856,442 for salaries and benefits. Next slide, please. Continue on with the budget breakdown for contractual service, which comprised of rent, supplies, equipment, drug testing, miscellaneous, power, water, telephone, and capital outlay. Total amount from the general fund is $3,783,927. Coming from the special fund is $1,153,647 for a total of $4,937,574 for this particular budget. Next slide, please. Accounting for the federal programs, if you can look at the chart, we do have funding in the amount of $5,933,725 with the respective grants that we have requested for. Next slide, please. The additional requests that our agency is requesting is, number one, we're requesting for $509,810 to sustain 10 CQ3 hired in or CQ officers hired in 2024, $113,018 to hire 2 administrative assistants, $60,561 to hire 1 accountant, $206,722 to pay active employees for merit bonus, to include $138,113 for inactive employees for merit bonus, and we're also requesting $213,391 for the 2% adjustment for the law enforcement increase. A total of $271,223 is being requested so that we can allow promotions for our lower ranking officers from Customs Officer 1 all the way up to Customs Officer 2. 3s, and 2 supervisors. In addition, $58,493 is also being requested for the promotion of drug detector dog canines and agriculture canine handlers. The agency's request for overtime is $150,000, and this is to cover the operation as needed with respect to interdiction, response, and intercept illicit arrivals, increase passenger volume, border incidents, arrests and seizures, and property disposition to include exports and mitigations. For contractual service, we are requesting for $100,000 to maintain and upgrade our electronic declaration form that we're currently using at the ports of entry. And this upgrade is to include and cover the military installation, such as Anderson Air Force Base, naval facilities, to include cruise vessels that are arriving down at the port. And lastly, we have also put in $96,618 to cover the shortfall for military leave default pay, and this is $96,118 for fringe benefits that are required for this particular employees, with a total of $1.9 million. Next slide, please. Our goals for 2025 is to graduate and deploy 20 additional customs officers for field operations and expansion of biosecurity task force. Graduate 9 drug detector dog teams, recruit, promote, and hire additional administrative staff support, annual promotions, complete paying out merit bonus for all employees and inactive employees, bring phase 2 of the import modernization project, which includes the Oceania Customs Organization expert funding. UNTAC has screwed a team, an in-country expert that's going to be coming to our island to assist us with the automation. Relocate CQA headquarters and administrator's office to the airport so that we can save an additional $233,000 annually. Procure a new back scanner X-ray machine, van for seaport operation. Acquire donations of TSA X-ray scanning machines. Customs satellites inspection station, complete the A&E work for the inspection facility at Cabras. Also, we will be procuring new vehicles to replenish the current fleet that we have. And with the additional funding for port security, we are going to also procure new computers for the agency. Moving on, apply federal funding for consultation service to develop the customs fees to capture actual operation costs, therefore removing a reliance on general fund, adjustment of passenger inspection fees and cargo fees, agency realignment using officer career training plan with post-force structure, agency organization incorporating law enforcement officers and administrative staff career ladder, and expand customs services to facilitate U.S. DoD buildup to include drug testing. And lastly, to maintain, support, and enhance existing agency programs and initiatives to increase our interdiction of illicit drugs, merchandise, and contraband, to improve our detection and mitigation of dangerous plants, pests, and animal diseases, and to expand outreach education programs for stakeholders and the public. Thank you. That is our presentation, and I will be glad to answer any questions at this time.
All right, thank you, Director. I have only a few questions, very simple. You identified in your mission, U.S. Postal Service main facility. Is that the one in Bergata or is the one down in Agana?
What's that? What's that?
Post office. Which one is
Bergata.
it? Bergata? When you say your mission is, that's part of the inspection, is there a space for you to inspect packages that come in to make sure they're good to go? And the individuals receiving it are paying the user's tax? I'm just trying to make sure we cover the use tax.
Are we referring to the post office?
Yes.
Okay, Hafide, Senator. My name is Vincent Perez. I'm the Chief of Customs. So we have a space over at the Guam main facility in which an officer is stationed over there to be able to observe, monitor, and inspect any mail coming in. As we've stated in previous testimonies, we're able to pretty much open up foreign mail. However, domestic mail is pretty much not one of those pieces of mail that we're able to readily open. But we do have officers who are able to inspect, and they get stationed at the window. So we're still trying to move towards developing the program to ensure that we capture as much use tax as we can.
Okay, when you identify domestic mail, what is a domestic mail? Mail between villages? Because that's what domestic mail is in Guam. Anything that comes to Guam is international. I mean, the only thing that's considered domestic is only when you get on your phone and you can call anywhere in the States. But when you mail or you leave Guam, you're leaving an international airport. You're not leaving a domestic. You're not flying out of Saipan. Let me put it that way. We are an international port. So that's why I'm asking that question. Because I know that they fly in those mail. It's not by ship. Because if it's by ship, you'll catch it at the port. Then that becomes easier for you. Because you can open up a container and check everything.
For the purpose of mail, Senator or Mr. Chairman, mails coming in from the United States mainland are considered domestic mail.
They're considered domestic. Okay. Then my next question is, there's no way you can determine use tax when it comes in the mail. Because if I'm correct, I don't think you guys are authorized to open the box or ask the recipient to open a box and show the bill of lading so that you can hit them with use tax. But you have no problem doing that at any freight forwarders. Am I correct? It's no different. They're all coming through an airport. And that's what bothers me, because I think I spoke to you folks before, several years back, when we were talking about Saipan. They set up a separate building. Something comes in, when they say, here's a yellow card, go pick it up at window whatever. I've even tried to push that at one point, where you get a yellow card, you go to, window B, which happens to be Guam Customs. Get your package, open it up, because if there's use tax that can be applied, it'll apply. And that's how it should be, because if I'm correct, I think Customs in Saipan are making millions of dollars in use tax, and we're not making a penny on Guam. And we have, if not 20 times, 50 times more parcels going through Guam, and we're just missing out. Okay? I mean, I order online. Don't get me wrong. Most of us here in Guam order online because why? We can't get the product at the market. But hopefully it'll improve later. But it just concerns me is that obviously then the Guam Customs has not, or the governor's office has not communicated to the United States Postal Service to set up that same program. Because that's commerce. That deals in commerce. And I know, in fact, the United States will not say, no, you cannot toss the mail. No, we're not talking about stopping mail. We're talking about there's taxes due and taxes need to be paid. And that's very simple. It's a lot cheaper than the tax they have in the mainland. If you receive anything in the mainland, they hit you up real quick. California, 9%. Or is it 10%, or is it higher? I know in Washington State it's 9%. Go to Idaho, it's 6%. That's why I wanted to bring that up when I saw the mission is postal office. Next one I wanted to concentrate on is that custom hits port of entries. Port of entries are normally what? Just the airport and port, right? And I know that it was brought up before is that we have immigrants now coming into Guam, and you guys end up getting caught trying to figure out what to do with it. I'm just curious, would Custom be willing to recommend, suggest that we identify just about everywhere in Guam as a port of entry? And the reason for that is not to force you to grow, but force the U.S. immigration to get in charge. So if anything comes in on island and it's not cleared by immigration, because you guys can tag them later once somebody enters. Because, for example, you have customs people at Boat Basin. That's a port of entry, right? Aga Marina is not a port of entry? I don't know. Because when Boat Basin is closed, us boat owners, where do we go? Aga Marina. So if you can check at Boat Basin, why aren't you checking at Aga Marina? I mean, I'm just curious. They're port of entries.
Aga Marina is part of, is also part of the Port Authority. So we also cover Aga Marina.
Aga Marina?
Yes.
Okay, you do. I've never seen customs down there.
Yeah.
I know people come in. I mean, I could come in from Saipan or Rhoda, and there's nobody there at the port, Aga Marina. I drive in and pick up my boat, and I'm gone. I'm just curious, and I just like to see if you believe you need a bill, a law to allow you to, because the fire department's there. To get involved, then feel free to recommend it to your oversight chair.
Senator, Captain John Mendiola of Customs, your initial question was, what if we're looking at a bill to authorize all other areas for entry. I mean, the purpose of isolating and limiting the places of entry is actually for command and control purposes. If we were to extend it to Yilik, to other bays or coves around the island, it will impact our operations. It will deplete where we can do actual control. We would have to set up infrastructure so that customs inspections can be there.
Cap, the monkey is not on you. You identify the cost. It's the legislature. If we introduce a bill to expand the port of entry, you just tell us the cost. Then it's on us to fund it. So you wouldn't be worried about that. And then we go back to when anybody enters, you charge a fee for everything, right? I mean, let's be reminded of that before COVID, 90%, if not all your budget was all paid for by everybody entering. Mm-hmm. Right now it's more general fund than anybody else. So it's a matter of now is that because we're funding it, the people of Guam is funding it. I'm trying to find ways where you can collect more. That's what I'm going at. And I know where you're coming from. He's going to deplete your force. Your force will be depleted when you expand without authority and without funding. And I'm saying if we're in agreement to expand it, then we got to be in agreement to fund it. Now that makes it easier for you, Cap. I know where you come from.
So, Senator, if we're able to build the capacity to where it needs to be, obviously that talking point that you just mentioned could be one of the topics in planning for us strategically on how we get there. However, when you're building a house and you're building upon the foundation, and you need to build the foundation before you do any other type of work, you have to have the plans really well laid out. But I think that warrants a whole lot further discussion that we could probably look at, and we're open to discussion to be able to cross that bridge.
Well, let's get to the bridge, because right now we're not crossing anything. The issue with the mail hasn't been crossed. Saipan is doing a hell of a bang and making some money. Right. And all that money can go to customs. If you bring in the use tax and it comes up to several millions, it could be in the law that you would get a percentage, which is similar to what you're getting at the airport. Airport pays, it funds you guys. If it's use tax, I would highly recommend, DRT don't get all that money. You guys are doing the work. You should get paid for that. And get a high percentage. That's what I'm trying to find is find an avenue to help you guys. Because I like to see to the point where GovGuam is not funding you more than 50%. That you're being funded yourself, because even with the lack of tourism coming in, there's enough activity going on in Guam. And the post office is one activity that, other than just catching people with the drugs, you tag them for the products they bring in. And I wouldn't be surprised if all of you pretty much bring online like me. So nothing new. I'm willing to pay that. I pay that at freight forwarders.
Senator, if I can just add one more about your legislation. I think the agency would welcome review of any existing legislation to really narrow down customs authorities, because indeed a lot of the existing customs laws are very antiquated, and it needs to reflect the change in times as well as the dynamic of customs administration and customs authorities. So
we welcome that. You guys need to put somebody that we're here to help you, okay? We're not against you folks. I appreciate what you guys do, okay? No, don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to find a way to expand it, because you're limited. And in the area when you guys identified, relocate to the airport. I don't like that. And you know why? The airport's required to give you space to inspect. You're not required to rent from there. That's my belief. You should not be paying rent to do your business. Because if you can't inspect people coming in, hey, close the airport. It's no different than TSA. You can't get off Guam unless you go to TSA. They shouldn't be allowed out of the airport unless it clears customs. And you shouldn't be required to pay rent. And I've been a strong supporter and wanting to figure out a way how you guys can build your own building. You guys are not a small agency. I mean, shoot, you could take up easy 2-3 acres. And that will cover your personnel, your schoolhouse for your training, your equipment, and all your confiscation. Because remember, I used to work at Revenue and Tax, and I used to go and check you guys, and what else have you confiscated at the airport? And we had to take the alcohol and stuff like that, and I had to destroy it. You guys shouldn't be worrying about that at the airport. The airport should give you space to walk in, inspect the goods, take them out, and say, later, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here. Until we know when the airplane is bringing in customs passengers, we're not coming up here. That's my belief, okay? I may be wrong, but I doubt that. You folks need to have your own compound. You are you shouldn't be, and if anything, airport should give you space. Because why? You provide a service. I don't know, does the port charge you for, the commercial port charge you for the space? Because at one point, they weren't charging you. So they should be no different. Go for it, Director. I'm fighting for you guys,
Charging
okay?
us for common areas.
Common areas. Have a common area, Anna, they have more money down there, they need to pay for everything. And then you're providing a service, okay, gentlemen, ladies? I'm trying to find a way where you guys can start keeping your money, upgrade your equipment, do what you need to do. Hire more folks, and move along. Because, everywhere, every one of us, when we fly, we deal with immigration and customs, and there's no color, there's no discrimination. You owe, you pay. You want to bring in goods, you pay. And I'm just trying to make sure that you're allowed to levy that. Because remember, revenue and tax works hand in hand with you folks. If a product's brought in to the port or anywhere, if you don't meet the criteria for their business license, if it's not a wholesaler, sorry, it ain't coming through. If you're a retailer but you don't have a wholesale license, you ain't bringing it in. If it's for direct sale, then there's no use tax, because until they sell it, then there's a tax. But some folks have a tendency to bring in something and they claim they're going to use it as a model. Model. You're going to sell that product. And I'm supporting you folks. And with that, that was one of the biggest issues I have, was you guys moving into airport. Director, if you can, get them to pay it themselves. Let them cover you guys. You're providing a service. $233,000 is all they're asking from you. How much are you paying today anyway at the airport to be there? Huh? 233? That's for the new office, right? How much total are you paying?
Pilar Carbolito, Program Coordinator 4. So our just airport alone, the breakdown would be $1,753,788. But to include the other fees, we pay about $2 million total.
What other fees are you paying
So
for?
there's janitorial fee, power consumption, and of course, the administrative fee for the airport.
Administrative fee, you pay for common area fees? Is that what they call that?
No. So
Okay.
the administrative fee is the collection.
You're paying for them to collect money to pay you? Something
Yes.
don't make sense, but I understand where you come from. Wow, amazing. Almost $2 million. That could actually help you recruit, buy equipment. Gosh, that's a lot of money. I mean, if you told me you're paying $250,000 for your space, then I'd bite my lip. But you're paying over $2 million. That's a lot of money. You could actually get a building built, lease to own, and in 10 years you own the building and the whole property. Please consider that. I'm not saying there's property all over the place, but there's enough property nearby that for $2 million a year, the building ain't going to happen overnight. But if you have that earmark, it's a turnkey lease to own. Every year, you come to the legislature and you let them know you need the $2 million a year, because you're going to be moving into your own building, is to pay for the lease to own. And that just sets you guys up that it's budgeted. Everything else you generate is for you guys to find ways to generate more money. Do you have any federal grants that you get that helps you? Because I saw there's like $1.2 million, right? I'm just looking quickly at the budget. Special funds, there's 1.2 million.
So in total, there's about 5 million collection. So our specific grants are the port security grant. We do get USDA, and then also the burn grant through BSP.
How much total? What's the total amount?
I'm looking at 5.9.
5.9 you get, and you're still struggling
Total.
needing general funds. You see what I'm trying to get at? You pay 2 million, go there, go there. I'm trying to find a way to get you guys to be self-sustained. That's the goal, really. So when people look at you, I ain't getting money from you, Guam tax. I'm getting it from the fees that people have to pay. I'm getting it from what I'm collecting, use tax. I'm getting it from this and this and this. Okay, so with that, thank you very much. Senator Nicholas, you got any questions? You're the Oversight Chair of Customs, sir.
What's that? You already asked all the questions, Mr. Chairman. You know, I grew up in the agency. I know we've been arguing at the fact that you know, about paying lease to the airport for many, many years. I echo the sentiments of our chairman here. You know, you bring these things to us and how it is that you want to grow, or, you know, you want to modernize or whatever. So you bring those to us and we find a way. I wanted to ask about the vehicles. It was brought to my attention that, you know, what's the status of our vehicles at Customs?
Thank you, Senator. So, in looking at our vehicle fleet, the average age of the vehicles is around 13 years. We actually have around, how many, 30, somewhere in the range of 30-something, and over half of them need some kind of maintenance. And the youngest of the cars is, in the last 4 years, we only purchased 5 vehicles. So one of the things that tells you is that through the years, we've been doing very well with the maintenance. If our vehicles are lasting 13 years, I mean, I'm sure that if you come to our agency, you'll look at a vehicle and you say, I still remember that from many years ago, because we still have it. The challenge we run into is wear and tear, the maintenance, something goes down and it just triggers another malfunction somewhere else. Our intent is to take a look at the vehicles, and as we get new vehicles, as the director had mentioned, we're looking at, we're in the process of acquiring 10 vehicles, and when we get the 10 vehicles, we're going to start taking the older fleet. And we've already been doing that because prior to this year, we've had more vehicles and we had to get rid of them. We had to DX them. So, yeah, in moving forward, our plan is to completely get rid of the old fleet, and hopefully we have a system of maintenance that's in place and a system of retiring those vehicles, and a system where every perhaps 4 years we just change them out.
Thank you, Chief. At the moment, how many vehicles you have operating in operations right now?
About 20. I would say, Senator, about 20 vehicles that are operating.
My favorite was the Sano truck. Is it still
No, we finally DX'd that, Senator.
So just to follow up on the number of vehicles, and we have that in place right now. It's down at GSA. We're supposed to be picking up at least 13 vehicles to replace the fleet.
Thank you, Mr. Director. And Zanya, STC, Mr. Chairman, tax. So at the moment, how are you effectively collecting use tax at the ports?
Use tax is being assessed, and so one of the challenges that we've had has been identified in an audit previously. So one of the things that we're hoping in moving forward is that as we move towards modernization and everything is actually tied in with a system that ties in the stakeholders, the governmental people, the regulators, and ourselves, that we can effectively track exemptions. Because one of the biggest problems we have also is when people come in and they say, I'm claiming my exemption to the use tax. And the only other way for us to verify it is to go through logs, But if we're able to incorporate that into our new management information system that's going to collect the data, it should be able to close the gap. But we've been able to assess use tax. However, we have not collected for use for customs purposes at this time.
So at the moment, use tax that you collect goes into the general fund and not back to you guys? DRT? Oh, okay. And, I just wanted to ask also, how much drugs have you guys confiscated to year to date, in pounds? If you
Year to date, Senator?
year to date, from the beginning of the year, do you have that information?
From the beginning of the year?
Yes, sir.
In 2023, 22,300. MJ and Matt.
Go ahead and read that.
Okay, so for 2023, inclusive of all the different areas, to include the post office, the port, the post office, we have seized 22,388 grams, or approximately 49 pounds of methamphetamine. And for year to date, for 2024, we're running at 11,498 gross grams, or approximately 25 pounds. And for marijuana, because it's still on the schedule as far as like bringing it on board an aircraft, it's still in violation. For 2023, we've seized 31,159 gross grams, or 69 pounds for 2023. And in 2024, 164,601 gross grams, or 392 pounds.
Thank you, Chief. And what was that question? Oh, the money asset forfeiture. Have you collected and anything this year?
Yeah. So just recently, we've completed and gone through. We had a little bit of issues with compliance, and so we've been going through that, and so it's been completed actually, and so we finally have access to the system. So I don't have the exact numbers of what our balance is as of today. With the new system, it makes it kind of difficult to go through. So I can get the numbers for you, though.
Okay, thank you. And just provide that information to us if you can, please. And, as I travel around, I've noticed that there's an evolution of customs, particularly in Asia. There's some countries that I've been to, where, you just get your bag and just walk right out. And so I don't know if how they're able to do that. I think it's done like in the Philippines, and I think in Thailand. I mean, there's just no customs officers around after you take your, maybe there's one or two people. They're manning the exit, and they just walk right out. So I don't know. Before it was quite different, but I would encourage you to watch the trends, as how customs develops around the world, and see how things, manifest, and maybe incorporating, better best practices and stuff like that, so we can, I guess, work better, not work hard. And the other thing that I wanted to ask is, have you seen a growth in the arrivals, and where are you seeing it? From what country?
We did provide a graphic on as far as comparing 2019 calendar year with the COVID years and then up to date. So we are tracking based on the assessment of the customs user fee to the passengers. Again, our numbers may be different from GVB because we're using that as to account for our revenue from the inspection fee. We're seeing that we're still tracking. For us, it looks like we're below maybe 50% of pre-COVID numbers. But we can say that in comparison between October of 2022 or 22 to April of 23, and comparing October 23 to April of 24, we see that there's a 30% increase between just that snapshot alone. So we are seeing the increase of return of travel. I don't know what's the, how long it'll take, but we were able to crunch the numbers and see, for us, how we're seeing through our revenue, as a revenue indicator, what we're seeing as compared to pre-COVID, as well as with the recent years of the inspection fee. So that's what we're seeing, and we're monitoring it. It's important that we monitor it because, again, that is that's one way to delink us from the general fund and propose other solutions to really delink us from reliance on the general fund moving forward. With not only that, but also with our cargo inspection fees that actually pays for our operations at air cargo and the seaport.
How many more cruise ships do we anticipate this year?
I don't have the number, but I think you can. It's been publicized that just this year alone, at least the first or second quarter of the fiscal year, we've really seen an increase in passenger cruise ships coming to Guam, as with previous years. Even to some extent, I could even say even before COVID, that for cruise ships are coming. It could be good marketing for Guam, or just changing, but definitely it impacts our revenue stream down for the cargo inspection fees, since those fees that are generated are assessed from the passengers coming off cruise lines. That is directly for cost recovery in our cargo program areas.
Thank you, Captain. And when they do these operations, how much of this is overtime? Or is there zero overtime?
It's Senator, cruise ships that are coming in down at the port, we don't incur overtime because the passengers are already paying for their services. So what we do is the agency will allot the manpower that's needed, and if it requires that the officers are called in to augment the shortage, then yes, we pay overtime for that.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Another question is just maybe how the seasoned officers, how many of them do you anticipate retiring in the near future?
We're looking at. I think we have a agency demographic, and I think it was showing that about 40 to 50% to 60% of the agency officers, as well as even civilian staff, you're looking at personnel with already over 20 years of service. So they're within the target of considering retirement, and we have been looking at that because of continuity. So with the recent hiring and then our request to hire and support additional hiring, it's not only about putting up numbers, but ensuring that there's continuity of services, mentoring, and ensuring that once the old guard changes over, the new guard coming in is just they're actively running. So yeah, there is about maybe 50 to 60% where a lot of our officers could be within 10 years to retire. Some of them by this year, maybe a handful within the next 2 years. So you're looking a lot of senior leadership that could be leaving not within years, within months. So we are preparing for that. But once you fill a void, you have to make sure that you backfill. So
just to follow up on that question, just this year alone, I'm looking at losing 13 officers by the end of December of this year, including top management.
Just, that's very alarming. I just wanted to point that out because every time I come into the airport, I don't recognize anybody no more. You know, so we have to make sure that we're, you know, that we're doing our best to properly mitigate that. I understand that there's a big majority of our management and our senior staff might be leaving. So I hope you guys, you know, try your best to make sure that we, you know, we can work on that. And I'm going to let Senator Guåhan ask all the hard questions. So stay tuned. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have anything further.
Thank you, Senator Snickers. Senator Brown, now for you, the hard question that Senator Snickers thinks you're going to do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Certainly good afternoon to our director and our representatives here from Customs. I did want to ask because, of course, Customs has been subsidized by the general fund since the pandemic. And I look at the figures you're putting here. You're putting about $13.9 million out of the general fund and then $7.8 out of your special funds. And of course, I would like to see ultimately Customs be on its own. I think your ultimate flexibility is only going to happen when you do that. So what is the increase from last year? Because eventually I want to see you wean. As you increase you're receiving additional out of your funds from increased travel, and obviously there is increased travel, not to what we had previously, but certainly moving along than where we were last year or the year before. So what is the difference, I mean, in your increase? Because I don't want to see the general fund continue to subsidize Customs out of what should have been a short-term assistance to become a long-term benefit at the expense of other operations in the government of Guam that do not generate fees or don't generate revenue from fees.
Yes, thank you for that question, Senator. Yes, the increase that you're seeing on our budget has to do with the additional manpower that we're trying to pick up, and also the compensation that we need to pay out on that 2% adjustment fee to include increasing the budget to accommodate the merit bonus payment that needs to go out for both active and inactive employees.
But how much more in revenue have you received this year from the last year or the last 2 years because of increased travel, which originally you were receiving your revenue primarily out of the fees you charge to travelers and cargo coming in? That has increased substantially. I mean, we're not where we were, but we're definitely increasing. I mean, there's a lot of activity, a lot more manpower at the airport than there's been, in the last 3 to 4 years. So what is the difference in your revenue? What is increased out of your fees?
Half-a-day, Senator. I'm taking a look at so looking at our increase in revenue in 23, we're looking at 5.7, that amount. And in 22 was 2.5.
Senator, just base your comment of you want to see how they increased as far as the funding stream from the passenger inspection fee as well as from the cargo fee. Again, in comparison with FY23, for the number of passengers, we looked at close to 700,000 passengers that were charged the fee, which equated to about $5.7 million.
Okay.
For FY24 year to date, we're tracking at about, it's showing 434,000, or roughly we've collected or anticipate to collect at least $4.4 million just from the passenger inspection fee. So it is growing. Again, for FY 2024, this is just up until April, and these are the invoices that are remitted from the airport. As far as our cargo inspection fee for FY 23, because we've implemented a better tracking system internally, we were tracking about $1.4 million in the customs cargo inspection fee, which is both the air cargo and maritime. Year-to-date FY24, we're at about 776,000 from October to April of this year. So we are seeing, I don't have the numbers, good numbers with me for FY18, 19, 20, 21 to see the comparison, as well as to see where the possible dip in revenues may have come because of COVID, because of possible inactivity, obviously, for air travel, but also maybe there may have been a dip in activity of the customs inspection fee for cargo because of supply chain issues and everything that the world was going through. But definitely, I think we can provide you those numbers. But
I think we would request those numbers from the committee. I certainly want to see it before we address the budget on the floor. I think it would be helpful. Again, we are at a budget hearing. We need to have these numbers also to provide the comparison, because ultimately, I mean, I don't want the pandemic subsidy that's been provided to customs to become some sort of permanent form of subsidy, and that we just keep growing, because there are other areas in the government of Guam that are not able to generate revenue. Customs is able to generate revenue. And prior to the pandemic, you pretty much were living on your generated revenue. Yeah. I want to see a return to that. I don't want to see the general fund continue to subsidize, because there are going to be other obligations, other operations in this government that are also critical to the public that we're not going to be able to have them generate their own fees. Yeah. And in spite of what we've seen as a continued windfall of money, all that goes up must come down, and it will come down. And we have grown this government substantially in the last few years. And my concern is sustainability. I mean, growth is nice, but if we're going to, as I've mentioned time and time again, there have been a lot of long-term obligations members of this legislature have put in place on short-term revenue. And when that happens, probably I'm not going to be here to worry about it, but I didn't vote for it, so my conscience is clear on that. But I am concerned about sustainability. I don't want to just say today, tomorrow, and then next year, we end up having a major crash or major cuts. And I've been through that in the legislature. I've been through where we've had to cut. We're out working hours. We've had to cut payroll. And that's painful, especially when you have mortgages and other things that you have to pay on a monthly basis that come whether you're making the money or not. I don't want to see that happen. We're all partying, and yet, even the party ends. At some point, we want to go home. We don't want to stay out all night. So I just want to see that be an objective and a priority for customs to address their funding sources so that you can go back to being on your own independent source.
Senator, just to comment on that, just based on the tracking system that we're monitoring, we're at 50% level of where we're seeing passengers compared to COVID. So it's moving. It's not as fast as what we were lagging, but I'm pretty sure
I think we're hopeful that in a few years, hopefully things will get back, if not exceed that. But again, I just want to see that as the objective and not the expectation that the subsidies that have been provided from the general fund are something we're just going to continue to grow in. How about with regards, you mentioned your management information system, and now I realized when we had the tour, I don't know if it's earlier this year or last year, time goes so quickly, but when we were on the tour and all the manual recording that you had to do, you're not able to track your revenue as a result of it and charge it on the spot, so to speak, and collect on it. Where are you now with that system? I know the legislature not too long ago authorized the ability of customs to address that. Where are you in the procurement of that equipment to get that in place? So it's pretty much automated, and as they bring it in, you put the price tag on it, and they pay the fee to you for what they owe in taxes.
So Senator, it's a holistic approach. So with the automation, with tracking our finances, with tracking data, with tracking risk assessment, maximizing our resources, getting importer data, ensuring reconciling and all of that. It is all part of our phase 2 that we're moving into. We're completing our assessment and modernization consultation with the OCO, that was funded through DOI funding. So now we're moving into phase 2. We've been awarded through the Bureau of Stats and Plans to fund phase 2 for the actual system. Also, in addition, the recent HS automation legislation was very important to move forward with the project. But we are moving forward with phase 2, and we are looking to not only not just the day-to-day data, but also use it and ensure that there is a component there that can be used for our own revenue tracking and monitoring to sustain ourselves and to ensure that all applicable, non-exempt bills of lading or whatnot is accounted for and applied the inspection fee.
What is your time frame for phase 2? When will you be completed so that this system is actually in place? And again, I mean, it's another opportunity where revenue's escaping customs.
It is. You know, we're hoping to begin with the United Nations Trade and Development Office by October 1st. They're going to come here. They're going to sit with us. They will be hand in hand with us to go through the system and work out the necessary reforms, changes, training, and everything else to implement the system. So we think we did say about 18 to 24 months to actually see something. But you know, we're going to be giving everyone updates as far as the progress and if we can progress further. It is a complex system because it's something going to be very new, not only for customs and for other agencies that will benefit from it, but the stakeholders, the public themselves. It is a new way of putting it to Guam on how necessary information is going to be submitted to customs. So that it can be captured digitally and we can maximize our efforts to track our revenues, track data, use risk and threat assessment analysis, so on and so forth.
So have you already gone out? Have you gone out to bid the system out? Where are you with that? You're not there yet, or
we're not there, but we're ready. We have a work plan from the United Nations Trade and Development Office.
Are they assisting you to know what to ask for, look for?
Yes,
Because
they are experienced with
Okay.
the system.
And they've operated this in other jurisdictions? I'm only asking. I don't want to end up where we were with the patient information system that was just acquired in the last 24 months at GMH, that we end up finding out after they spent $5+ million doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Or our current financial information system, they tell us at some point it's going to work, but has created more problems that we've had to deal with not getting timely processing and information that we need with regards to our finances. So I want to make sure it works. I think we all want to make sure it works.
Close
I don't
to home,
want to be paying to figure it out after the fact.
Palau has already launched it. And Fiji has used it, and they've migrated to other versions. They've moved to a single Windows concept. So other customs administrations, smaller customs administrations, not talking about Japan and the Big Eight or anything, all those countries, but smaller administrations have already used this type of system and have morphed into incorporating a single Windows program, which it makes it more of an electronic one-stop through all border trade facilitation matters.
Certainly hope it'll work and it'll bring the desired objectives that have been discussed. We were here with Department of Agriculture yesterday with regards to biosecurity operations as a result of legislation that was introduced to allow access to those funds. And I wanted to find out, when PPQ was transferred to Customs, there was fees that were charged by the Biosecurity Division that I understand was absorbed by Customs. What are those fees and what are the amounts?
Are you talking about that $2 million that was initially part of the transfer?
Whatever the part of the transfer was, is there currently any revenue stream you're receiving as a result of doing these type of inspections that used to be put in place by the Biosecurity Division that was absorbed by Customs?
There's no more fees. Or
Fees?
Senator, is this from the passenger inspection fee that was part of the inspection fees that were assessed at the airport, where an appropriation was made or an allotment was made to the former PPQ from the revenues generated? Is that what you're talking about?
You might be the one to provide better clarification to that, because, as we know, they transferred over, they were eventually absorbed into Customs. Was there any additional fees, or is it just simply legislative appropriation? I'm just asking you for clarification. If there was, what is it? Or is it no longer in place, no longer an appropriation for that?
I'm not aware of that. There's no other fees that I can think of when PPQ was transferred with the Customs, and of course that's decades ago, but not that to my
Well, I think because now we've seen the challenges and the constant increase of invasive species that have come into Guam, there's concern as to whether or not, I'm certainly an advocate for restoring that specialized capability to the Department of Agriculture. I know you guys have a lot on your plate and all the things you have to look for and inspect, but because of the growing concern of invasive species coming into the island, I think we need to have that specialized group put back in place. I mean, I was here in the legislature when JQ Kinata did the legislation after 9/11. There was a move on the federal level to really consolidate any border-related inspection, and that's what led to the merging of PPQ into Customs. But I think after 20-plus years of this process, I'm very much of the opinion that I think we need to go back to specialized expertise. Instead of Customs having to call up Agriculture and ask their entomologist, is this safe, not safe, do we bring this in, what do we do with it? I think I want to see a PPQ officer or something to that effect actually hand in hand with your Customs people doing these inspections so that they specifically know what to look for, that they have the specialized expertise on site to determine how to proceed, because the lag time from the time you might be doing your inspection to a determination is made could be hours, could be days. And I just think with the growing threat, we live in a world where everything moves very quickly. We can go to any part of the world now. And the invasive species, be they on a ship or be they on a plane, they're traveling. And I think we need to protect what resources we have. We've seen the devastation that's already happened just with the rhino beetle. That's just one example. With regards to the boat basin, you say you do inspections. What do you do when cargo comes in through the boat basin? How do you determine it's there? What is there? How do you assess a fee? How do you know those fees are being paid?
Senator, at any time that a vessel is coming in down at the boat basin, they need to report that to the harbor master. The harbor master takes control and identifies that information and pass on that information to Customs, that there's a vessel that's heading to Agaña Boat Basin. And based on the departure clearance, they're required to notify the harbor master that they're coming in.
Do you know if that's being done?
Yes.
And what do you do then?
Then we have officers down there.
Okay. And what do you do when they don't notify and they just come in? I mean, you're not there on 24.
We can't be. So in order to be able to properly staff all the different ports of entry to include the boat basins, we're probably going to have to add an additional maybe 20% to our agency staffing. But I just wanted to touch on something before we continue, because we kind of touched on it very little. And so when we absorbed PPQ, we absorbed all the funding that they had. And so all the PPQ officers got assimilated. And so one of the things that you were mentioning touched on perhaps decentralizing from the border the agriculture inspection, the officers from Customs. I would say that one of the things that we can do, of course, is to work in collaboration with the Department of Agriculture on ensuring that we protect the island from the pests and anything else that comes in through agriculture. So if we're going to be able to do all that, we have to get additional officers. So if you're going to look at trying to staff up perhaps a specialized unit within the Department of Agriculture, Guam Customs is already looking at enhancing its current resources, because we're recruiting cycles of 20, and we recognize the fact that in areas such as biosecurity, you're going to need additional specialists. But because of the last 10, 15 years, we've been operating well below 50% of our capability. All we've been doing is just trying to build capacity. At the same time that we're trying to build capacity, we're losing officers to the federal government. Currently, the Guam Police Department has a retention incentive pay that was recently, or actually it's probably almost over a year, that was introduced. And what that does is that it creates a disparity with all the other law enforcement entities. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it standard. How do you standardize something when people are adding on? But I'm digressing. So just know that what we're trying to do, at least with the biosecurity, is we're trying to build more capacity, add more resources, and create more specialists to be able to act in a quick response manner to be able to address these reports as they come in.
I understand, but the challenge is while we're trying to do these things, we're getting invaded, and we're suffering the consequences and the cost of that. So, I mean, I'm of the opinion, I don't know if the rest of the legislature is, but I just think we need to have that specialty available. I think we diluted the process, and time has shown that. Not necessarily your fault, but you have a lot of other things on your list also you need to inspect. Let's not kid ourselves. The one thing that's going down is the cost of meth on Guam. Either they're generating it, they're manufacturing it here, they're bringing it in, but it's coming in. And it's pretty much migrated to every corner on the island. People that you'd never think would be dealing meth are dealing meth. That's the one price that's gone way down.
So imagine if we were properly manned and given the resources.
You know what, I have to tell you, sir, I appreciate your advocation, but you know, we are never going to live in an idealized world that we're ever going to have all the resources and all the money. That's not the reality of life. It never will be. What is expected in leadership is when you maximize the opportunity of what you have, you say, this is what we can do with what you fund. Excuses at some point, I can't, there is no, otherwise I'm qualified to be a director in every agency in this government, because all I got to do is come to this legislature and say, hey, I don't have enough money and I don't have enough resources. I'm qualified to be a director. And I'm sorry. I've been down that road. I've operated major operations in this government. I've been delivering with limited resources and get the job done. So I just can't absorb that. But I'm just pointing out for the boat basin, I think that's a liability for us. A lot of time and attention, including by the federal government, is placed on the post office. So if I'm a drug dealer, I'm bringing stuff in, I'm thinking, oh, it's the post office. I'm going to find some other way. You know, we down to barrels. I mean, they put in a barrel, get it on the shoreline. I'm just saying it's a liability here with regards to the boat basin, because there's no guarantee that they're providing. If I'm smuggling drugs, I'm not going to notify the harbor master. And that message is never going to get to customs. I'm going to come in when you don't see me, because you guys are not really monitoring the basins. I'm simply relaying that, and I think it's a very factual statement. So it's just something that we need to work on. You indicated you're going to be purchasing another mobile container scanner. Are you getting a grant, or are you going to purchase it outright, or what's the process that you're undertaking for that?
Yes, that's under the federal grant, port security grant, that has been awarded to the agency.
Okay, so you're going through another port security grant, and is this something, is the Port Authority going to hold possession and ownership of this for a period of time, or you're going to take it directly and take responsibility for it?
Yes.
And how are you going to address the maintenance of it? That scanner was down for quite an interim number of years and months because of no funding to address maintenance. Customs knew 4 years in advance they were receiving that equipment, and yet when they received it, with less than a year,
well, ma'am,
it wasn't operational. So what are you going to do different this time around?
Ma'am, ever since I came in as a director, that machine has been working up to this point in time. So the new machine that we're picking up, we are making sure that there is enough funding for maintenance to cover that machine for at least 5 years. Okay,
so after the grant expires, is Customs going to, because that's what happened last time. It was funded for a number of years, I believe 4. And then when the 4-year expired, that was it. It was out of operation, and everything, nothing. You know, we went back to everything, nothing.
And make sure that we plan for that.
I'm hopeful that we're prepared so that we can keep it operating. Are there any other plans? I mean, at some point, do you have any, are you moving forward with the construction of a facility at the Port Authority to do these inspections?
Yes, we're still pursuing the container inspection facility down at the port. We have acquired the funding for the A&E to build the building, and that's the first step. And the next step is to find the proper funding to move forward with the infrastructure.
Well, I certainly wish you well on that. We definitely have a need for a closed facility, because the open bay you have up at the Airport Authority, I mean, the moment you open the box, anything can come flying out, and, you know, our objectives are defeated. So I appreciate your response. I just think these are things we need to be aware and mindful of. There's always need for growth and improvement. I realize it's a challenge. You got a tough job, but, you know, I don't think you would have chosen the field you've chosen if you weren't up to it. So appreciate it. Thank you for your response. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to ask these questions.
Senator, if I could just make one comment about the boat basin. We understand that that's one of the areas of our concern, definitely. So through Port Security Grant, we are also looking at investing for customs equipment that can maximize our ability to surveil that area. As far as cargo that is coming in through the port, through the boat basin from Rhoda or from the outer islands, we are clearing those vessels. We are assessing the customs fees. We are working with port security, with the port authority, and you know, we have educated those businesses that are moving freight that they must submit, they must comply with the requirements for seeking customs clearance when they're coming in. Obviously, we still have some actors out there that are trying to come in, so that's what we're doing. We are looking at ways through federal funding to increase our ability to be there all the time without having to be there. So, you know, we're looking into tools and whatnot.
But you have no ability right now. Do you have camera capability? Are you able to monitor 24 hours a day the boat basins? Not
No.
that they can't come in any other shoreline, but no, you don't.
No, but
No.
we are getting it. That is one of the priorities with one of the port security
Because
grants.
right now, you really are expecting them to notify you. That's the challenge. You're asking them, and the odds are fairly good that there are always, as you call them, actors out there, that if they're not required to comply, they will not comply. They will find a way around the system, and you have no ability to monitor it or follow up to verify, because you're not there. You're only there when they call you and notify you to be there.
I think also we highlighted that we've also collaborated with other law enforcement partners out there to include the law enforcement elements up in the CNMI to let us know if there are people that we should be expecting coming down. So
I know, but even the CNMI has its problems, and they've got their problems up there. And I'm just saying, we just need to be a little more vigilant on what we can do. I like the fact that we want to do on their good faith and honor that they're going to report, but knowing that they're not going to consistently do that, I think you need to gear up on what you can do so that you can monitor those players that are not going to provide notice, that are coming in, that are moving cargo and other probably illegal things that they shouldn't be moving, because they're doing it. It's happening, and you're not able to be there 24 hours a day to verify that. So thank you again, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Senator Kenneth, do you have any questions for the panel?
Nothing really. Just wanted to thank you guys for your hard work. Keep it up, and have a great day. God bless.
Director or Chief, they asked a question about the user fee. You don't get any percentage?
We haven't received anything.
Are you entitled to it? Let's start with that.
Yes.
You are? How much? What percentage?
Well, in the old days, we used to be entitled to half of the 4% that was collected, and then when Senator Mabini was in the legislature, she split it into 3 different pots. But that remains.
Who's the other pots that it goes to? I'm just curious.
I believe
Customs the only one there. Who else?
As it stands, right, with the use tax, again, this is the 4% that is collected annually. 20% goes to customs, supposed to go to customs, 20% to DPW, and 20% to Guam EPA. I believe that's the breakdown. I think the rest goes to general fund.
Okay, I'm gonna expect the oversight chair to take a look at that, because I'm trying to understand why DPW needs to get. They're not building the port. They're not building the airport. EPA, go and collect your fee from somebody that's dumping cars and tires and everything. That's what they should be going after. You guys inspect the product, get a percentage, and your percentage should be a lot higher. The other folks that should get it should be DRT, if anything. Why? Because that's the one that has to process it. You write the bill, they do the collection. The other area I was concerned about was that I know that Senator Sinkers brought up was you confiscate drugs and it goes to court or to another law enforcement like DEA or whoever. They bust the individual, right? You know, they arrest the folks, they find money. And the reason why they were able to pursue this is because you found the drugs. And during the confiscation process, have you guys ever participated in getting any percentage of the funds that are confiscated?
Yes, Senator, yes.
How much?
We do get a certain percentage of whatever proceeds or cash that they confiscate based on the amount of time that the officer assigned to the task force participate in that particular operation. So we do receive money from from the feds.
Okay, because
Under the asset sharing
only because if you confiscate 69 pounds, the feds didn't confiscate anything. You did all the confiscation. Then all they did was they investigate the individual and they arrest the person, and they find in his house that he's got over $100 million. You get a percentage? You should be getting most of it. I'm just curious, just trying to...
There's a formula that the federal
Shanghai
uses.
formula, federal government, they have a formula to just keep all the money as much as they can. They claim everything else. I'm just curious, okay? I just wanted to know. And with that, there's no one else here to testify. I'm going to wrap this up real quick, okay, Director and Chief? There's no one else testifying on your budget. That being said, again, I'd like to thank everyone for attending this hearing and for providing feedback and suggestion. Don't forget, give us feedback on the one we talked about. Customs and Quarantine Agency budget hearing is now adjourned. The time now is 3:20. Please be safe and take care. Have a nice day. Thank you.